Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to be talking about the progressed moon in astrology. So the progressed moon is different to looking at your transits. It's known as a progression. So with the progressions, specifically with the progressed moon, you're looking at it moving 1 degree per month roughly, and it will spend approximately 2 to 2.5 years in a particular sign. And so I personally use the progressed moon a lot when I'm analysing people's charts, especially if I'm looking at anything to do with transits. I will look at the progressed moon, because what the progressed moon can show you is how you're growing in your life on a real emotional level, what's going on in your life in a very emotional, sense, to do with home life, to do with your emotions. And as we go through life, we're born with our moon in a particular sign, but as we evolve and change, and we get the influence of that progressed moon coming into our life. So you will notice, if you're someone that's sensitive about your emotions and what you're going through, you will notice the changes if you look at where your progressed moon is at, what house it's in, and also aspects that's getting a bit more complicated. But in this video, what I want to talk about is basically the progressed moon in this, what it's like to have your progressed moon in a particular sign as it goes through and changes signs. And so, for example, I'll start with Aries, and also it's going to be the same for, so I'll say Aries first house, Taurus second house. So your progressed moon can go over into 2 to 2.5 year periods. It will be, it can go over 2 houses sometimes. So that's another thing that you will want to look at. So if you're someone that uses astro.com, for example, which is what I use, just look at the progressed moon. All you do is choose the, you can choose transits and progressions in the drop down menu, or you can choose just to look at the progressions, and it will show you where everything is. Like, for example, the progressed sun, it's very slow to change, and all the other, Mars, Venus, Jupiter in the progressions are very, very slow, pretty incremental in terms of how the degrees, how they move, but the progressed moon changes 2 to 2.5 years. So it is something to pay attention to, definitely. So, for example, just before I go through each one, there are certain progressed moons which I've personally found, and through people that I know of, as I've been studying astrology for many years, looking at the progressed moon, how it influences someone's life. You can see that when the progressed moon is in a good sign for the moon, for example, Taurus is well placed in Taurus or Cancer. It's going to depend on the house, but you'll find that the experiences that you have are, maybe there's some more sense of flow or ease compared to when the moon is in, for example, Scorpio or the 8th house. So anyway, I'm just going to go through each sign and talk about what it's like to, in a general sense, obviously, what it's like to have your progressed moon in those signs. So for Aries, I think personally it's a good placement, especially if your natal moon is in a fire sign or an air sign. In your natal chart, having a progressed moon in Aries or the first house is quite good. You'll find that you can really focus on your own needs and what you need, especially, like say if you've got a lot of Libra in your chart and you're always thinking about other people. When your progressed moon goes to Aries, you'll find it's easier to look after yourself. It's easier to think about, okay, what do I need? And it's kind of a sense of relief for you if you're used to always thinking about other people so much. So also your own projects, you can put a lot of steam and energy behind your own projects. You can get a lot done. You'll feel more impulsive. You'll feel less hesitant in situations. You'll feel more like speaking your mind, speaking your truth, getting things done, taking action, taking more risks as well, and maybe more emotional risks. And you'll be more determined and ambitious to get ahead on your own path when you have progressed moon in Aries. And you may sort of do things that, if you have a safer moon, for example, in your natal chart, like a Cancer moon, or maybe a Taurus moon or a fixed moon sign, you'll kind of feel a bit more that you can take a risk now and do something a bit out of the box, maybe, compared to how you normally would be. So it's a time to really focus on yourself when you have progressed moon in Aries or the first house. Second house progressed moon in Taurus or second house is a really good time for abundance and to focus on income and generating abundance and income in your life. You'll notice that when the moon progresses into Taurus, look, it depends on the house. If it's the 8th house, it's going to be a bit different, but if it's in say it's in an earthy house like the 6th house or the 10th house, you're going to be really bringing in the abundance, and you could get a promotion, or someone that you live with, say if you have a husband or wife and they work, they could get a promotion or do well in their business, which could bring more abundance to your home life. So definitely money increases with the progressive moon in Taurus or the second house. Again, it depends on aspects that it makes to the natal chart to, you know, always factor that in. But just generally speaking, it usually signifies an improvement in your physical situation, in your monetary and material situation. So that's something to look forward to if you've been through a hard time before that. The Gemini, progressive moon in Gemini is a really interesting one. You'll be socializing a lot more. You can have, you know, like situations where you are invited to a lot of different things. There could be things going on with siblings as well. Gemini, progressive moon, or third house, progressive moon. You know, if there is difficult aspects, there'll be difficulties with the siblings or with neighbors. But if there's not, generally speaking, you'll be more involved in the community. You'll be more restless emotionally. So do be careful of, you know, being emotionally restless and getting yourself into trouble because you're just bored, or because, you know, you just feel emotionally overstimulated and restless and needing to sort of feel like shaking things up a little bit. You'll be reading a lot more probably, and you'll be on social media a lot more. You'll be wanting to express your opinions a lot more. You'd be a bit more flighty and non-committal about things. You can have some changes in your life as well, like it's a very, being a mutable progressed moon, there can be a lot of changes going on, a lot of different things, and you may be interested in studying something or taking on new skills in some way. Could be very much on a mental level about what you're learning. So a lot of mental restlessness when progressive moon goes into Gemini or the third house. The progressive moon in Cancer focuses the energy very much on the home life, and you know, you may oftentimes when you have a progressive moon in Cancer, you could be looking after little children, your own children. You could be developing your own home-based business. A lot of attention is focused on the home. There could be renovations going on in the home. There could be developments at home to do with family. And really your attention gets very focused in on family, and you may be needed a lot. So if you have small children, they can be very demanding, you know, in their younger years, and they can need your attention constantly. They could be calling you constantly for things. Even if they're older, you know, you could have a lot going on with your kids. If you don't have kids, you know, it could be something like buying a new home, you know, getting a mortgage, especially if Saturn's involved or aspecting natally or by transit. And just a lot of attention to do with emotional issues with family members as well. Family members may be leaning on you for support, or you know, things of that nature. Basically connections with family. You could even say, if it was, just as an example, your progressive moon in Cancer was in the 9th house, you may travel to reconnect with family that you haven't seen for many years. If your progressive moon is in Cancer in the 7th house or in the 5th house, you may have a child, or even in the 3rd house, or the 4th house for that matter. Yeah, so it's very much focused on home and family situations there. Progressive moon in Leo is it's more of a self-expressive time. It's more of a fun time of your life where you can get involved in creative projects and things that you enjoy. And actually, if you've been working really hard in the past few years and things have been very routine, you'll find that now with your progressive moon in Leo, you'll be able to actually enjoy your life more, do more fun things, go on some trips or adventures even, do something creative that you've always wanted to, you know, do a course, painting, the arts. Creativity in all its forms will be, you know, positive for you, self-expression, and you'll want to be seen. You want to get out there. You won't want to be sort of, you know, as self-protective as if you have a progressive moon in Scorpio, Cancer, or Pisces, where you're kind of more hidden away. You want to come out and be seen and express your opinion, and, you know, share what you know with people, especially if it's in like the 11th house, the 10th house, or, you know, even the 7th house. You'll be dealing with people more and the public more, and it's more about being seen and sharing your creativity with the world. If it's in a quieter house, say progressive moon in the 4th house, well, again, there could be a focus on children there, or family get-togethers, or hosting, you know, a holiday period like having Christmas at your home or something along those lines. But definitely there's a big flair for creativity and self-expression when you have progressive moon in Leo. And, you know, it's I think, you know, the fire moons can be quite good for more enjoyable times in life. Progress moon in Virgo, you'll be very much focused on work. Your mind will probably be racing. Your emotions and your mind will be like racing. You'll be very busy. You'll feel like you have a million things to do, and you probably will. Routine, work, and health will take up a lot of your attention. So you'll be wanting to be of service to people and really bring something to others that can really help them. You'll be wanting to help other people and be of service to people. It can be a time when your anxiety peaks. If you're someone that has anxiety, when your progress moon is in Virgo or the 6th house, there can be issues with the health and the nervous system, and anxiety and all that sort of thing. But you will get a lot done. It's a time when you'll be very, very busy, and you'll be focused on a lot of details of your life, whether that's to do with family, work, career, your own business, whatever it is. And there could be a lot of technical aspects and a lot of little details that you need to take care of. You may have trouble sort of calming yourself down and being still. You may feel that when you have the progress moon in Virgo or the 6th house that you have to do something all the time. So it can actually be hard for you to just like take a chill pill and just like be like, okay, you know, I don't have to be thinking of a million things that I need to do. Just write it down and, you know, write lists down, and that way you can actually try and decompress when you're being with other people. You can actually focus on them rather than the millions of things that you have to do. So a very busy time, a bit of a high anxiety time. And if you're someone that has a lot of 6th house or Virgo in your chart, it's going to be more amped up, that energy. What else? What am I up to? Virgo, Libra. So progress moon in Libra is a very interesting one. I found with a lot of clients, when they progress moon just goes into Libra, new relationship, very common. Or a renewal in the current relationship. If they're in a marriage that, you know, they're staying in, there can be some sort of a sense of renewal there. There can be a lot more connections with people, and sort of, you know, if you you could be going into a new job where you're dealing with people more one-on-one with clients, or you could be, you know, having a lot of significant relationships in your life, or new friendships that develop, even reconnecting with people from the past. Maybe like say if your progress moon's in Libra in the 4th house, you could be connecting with people from your past and renewing that friendship. But it's very focused on other people, and you know, you'll feel a lot like a desire to help others and to be there for others and be a sounding board for others, and you also feel that you need that yourself. So, you know, many people get married or get engaged or start, as I said, start a new relationship, a long-term relationship, or even, you know, a relationship that lasts that 2 to 2.5 year period while the moon progresses in that sign of Libra. So or if, you know, it's just in the 7th house, I mean, it depends obviously, but it's the same thing. It's very much focused on other people. So working with others, developing connections with people and clients especially, and significant soulmate connections as well. Scorpio, that's an interesting one. Progress moon in Scorpio, you know, it's one of the harder progress moons to have. It's dealing with a lot of issues to do with death and rebirth, you know, shared monies that you share, taxes, inheritances, all that stuff that's related to the 8th house, the Scorpio energy. There can be a lot of difficulties with other people. There can be power struggles with others. It can be a bit of a darker time of your life, a bit of a time of struggle. It's not the happiest time. You can feel a low mood or a heaviness on you, like you're sort of, everything is a bit more difficult in some aspect, you know, and you could be purging a lot of past pain. You could be working a lot of psychological issues from your past, and need to sort of get those things out of your system and kind of cleanse your spirit in a way. It can be a deeply spiritual time, but it can be pretty difficult at the same time as well. There could be issues of dealing with loss, death, you know, in the typical sense of losing people that you love, or having to let go of old friendships and connections. So there can be an aspect of letting go, but also wanting to hold on. And it can be a time of extremes with your emotions, where you just feel everything much more intensely and more passionately, and maybe even a little bit obsessively about what you want to do, or how you feel about people. Can be very black and white, can be very intense. Not the easiest of times, but a very necessary period of cleansing, you know, spiritually, and letting go of things that maybe are no longer working for you in your life. A big time of transition and rebirth. Sagittarius progress moon, or progress moon in the 9th house, it can be overseas travel. You can feel a lot more fun loving about life, but like more positive. You can have more of a positive outlook on life Whereas if, you know, you've come out of that scorpionic phase of the dark time where you kind of, you know, the phoenix rises and the progressive moon goes into Sagittarius, it's a welcome relief, I can tell you that much. It's a completely different time where you feel more adventurous. You feel more like taking risks and having fun, and you really need to make some time to have fun in your life and to go on little adventures, go on trips, long distance or short distance trips as well. You may want to study to expand your mind. You may want to seek the truth about situations in your life, about spirituality. There may be many things that your mind is very stimulated and very active, and you may want to expand, whether it's in the physical realm, expand, or mentally expand your mind. So it's more of a fun time, a risk-taking time, and a more spontaneous time where you can really change the way you see life and have a real positive outlook and really be a positive force for other people as well. We're up to Capricorn. Progressive moon in Capricorn can be very, very focused on material side of life, getting ahead, saving money, long-term plans, being a leader in some way for others. So also the 10th house, you know, progressive in the 10th house, or Capricorn, same type of energy. So ambitious, you know, feeling ambitious about things and wanting to achieve, and really putting in the hard work and really understanding that. And financial security is going to be really important to you. Getting ahead in your career, having that stability in your work and career, and how the public sees you is going to be important to you. You may be called upon to step up in some way, whether it's, you know, whatever, it's, you know, it depends. Say you've got Capricorn moon in not the 10th house, but you know, like the first house, for example, you're going to want to push yourself more on your life path and really go for your goals and go for your dreams and really put in the hard yards. But you're going to be a bit more ruthless about it in some way. You're not going to worry too much about what other people think. You're just going to get things done and do what you feel needs to be done. If your progressive moon in Capricorn's in the let's see, the 5th house, should be more serious about love, and you'll be wanting to find a committed relationship, and, you know, maybe find somebody that you can really click with rather than superficial relationships. Progressive moon in Aquarius, I think, is a good one. It's a time really to break out of past restrictions and constrictions, and really express your individual self, your individuality in life. And, you know, it's a very creative time. You may go on a completely different path to what you've done before. You may be dealing with the public. You may be fascinated and driven by humanitarian things. You may want to do something to help humanity, or you may just be feeling very quirky and expressive and wanting to express yourself in a very different way to what you have in the past. You may change an aspect of your look, especially to do with the face, because, you know, the moon relates to the face. You may change something about where you live, because, you know, the moon being in Aquarius, progress, it's ruled by Uranus, so it's breaking out of established norms and patterns. So you may suddenly find that beliefs that you have are against the grain in society, and you just start to feel different, or you may start to follow something that you've always wanted to do but you were afraid to do before. Because when your progressive moon's in Aquarius, you tend to really know that you have to follow your own passions, your own instincts, and as different, as unique as they are, you will still want to follow them because you'll be very stubborn about it. You can be more stubborn as well when progressive moon's in any of the fixed signs, so Aquarius, Taurus, Scorpio, or Leo. Lastly, progressive moon in Pisces. So for Pisces, it's, you know, it can be a time of letting go, of releasing, or again, if it's in the 12th house. So progressive moon in Pisces or 12th house, it's a releasing time. It's a time to let go. It's a time to move away from old things of the past that have held you back. So you may move, you may let go of a long-standing relationship, you may, you know, separate from somebody. There can be a feeling of loss and sadness around the progressive moon in Pisces. There's definitely changes that come into your life as a result, and I've seen people, progressive moon in Pisces, you know, move away from where they've lived for many years to a completely different life, or it can be a very quiet time where you kind of feel a bit more like you're in your own world, and your imagination and fantasy and creativity really take over, and you kind of, there can be a bit of a magical kind of wearing rose-colored glasses. You can be under the influence of Neptune and see things very differently around you in a less pragmatic kind of ambitious way, and in a more kind of indulgent kind of easygoing, go with the flow kind of way. So it can be a very spiritual time. It can be a time where you have to sort of really deal with very different situations to what you may have dealt with before, where you just feel like you have more spirituality, you use prayer more, you're connecting with your guides more, you're kind of going on faith more in your life, because things in your life may not feel perfect, they may not feel that great, so you may be relying on your connection with your guides, with spirit and your angels to help you. It's a very healing time. It's a time when you can benefit from physical, spiritual, mental healing modalities. Some people do, you know, find they go into hospital during when they have progressed moon in the 12th house, or they are just living a very spiritual kind of time, or just a very creative time where they're kind of expressing quietly behind the scenes a lot of their inner creative voice that they maybe didn't before. You can feel alone in this time as well, so you know, don't isolate yourself if you have progressed moon in Pisces or the 12th house too much, because even though you'll want to feel that quietness around you, that peace, and you'll get a lot from that. But you know, if it's making you depressed, you know, obviously don't completely cut yourself off from other people during that time. But it's a very sensitive time where you can feel very empathic and psychic as well. So that's just a bit of an insight into, you know, just a very generalized sense of the progressed moon. I really find that the progressed moon tells a lot of where the person is at in their life while the moon is, you know, in that has changed signs in the progressions. And also do want to look at transits to the progressed moon, as well as aspects that the progressed moon as it moves on, what those aspects are to your natal chart as well will be important. Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and talk to you next time. Bye.